Well, talking of Moscow, just in the last 10 minutes or so, a lot of information coming and dropping that President Putin and Donald Trump have had a long phone call today. What are you hearing about the contents of that call?
Well, no more than you. I wasn't on the call, but they have a rapport. They have a personal relationship, which is in some ways quite troubling, because during President Trump's first term in office, he very publicly said he preferred to listen to President Putin rather than his own intelligence agencies, which was a real shock to the community, the intelligence community in the United States. But there is a very close working relationship between US and British intelligence agencies, the CIA, the FBI, MI6 and so on. But the fact that these two leaders do have something to talk about, I think, is quite promising. You've got to remember what President Trump's priorities are. For him, it's about securing the southern border, it's about trade, it's about China. He's not that interested in Europe, and his big message, going back to also to what his defense secretary has been saying to America's NATO partners in Europe, is Ukraine is kind of your problem. This is Europe. You sort it out. You spend more on defense. Agonizing over whether, in the case of Britain, to raise it from 2.3 to 2.5%. He's thrown all of that out of the window and demanded 5%. Well, America doesn't even spend 5% of its GDP on defense. It's unaffordable for most European nations. But you've got countries, big countries like Spain and Italy, that spend less than the mandated 2%. And America is saying, why should the US taxpayer have to shoulder that burden if you're not prepared to pay for your own defense? So this really today has been, I think, a bit of a cold shower for both Ukraine and for NATO.
Frank, thanks very much. And coming on top of those details, Frank giving us, let me just give you a few more of those details from that call being reported out of America, also being reported out of Moscow. Both sides talking about the call, saying that both leaders have invited each others to their countries, and President Trump saying he will call President Zelensky right now, that's the quote, to inform him of that call with Vladimir Putin. The Moscow also putting out notions that perhaps negotiations on a ceasefire can move forward. So that story is clearly moving. When we get more, we'll obviously return to it.